Hello, everyone. I am Jen Bordeaux, the Director of Public Relations with New Direction Family Law, and I am joined today by our Client Relations Specialist, Chyna Corbett. And we are going to be talking to you for this Family Law Uncorked, just a few tips on what to look for whenever you are searching for a family law attorney, as well as our intake process and what you can expect there. This is an important topic because when you start doing research for a family law attorney, you're generally already under a lot of stress, no matter what the family law matter is. If it is your first time seeking information about a separation or divorce, if it's a modification or domestic violence protective order, whatever it may be, anything that follows under that umbrella, or really anytime you reach out to an attorney, it's generally not under the best circumstances. So the last thing you want to worry about is making sure that you're finding an attorney that you can be confident in, trust, build that rapport with, and know that they are going to take great care of you and represent you to the best of their ability for your unique situation. So Chyna and I wanted to just do a few tips to give you a heads up whenever you're doing that Google search or Bing or Yahoo or whatever realm you're using to help identify some things that either may be a good fit for you, maybe things you haven't thought about, or maybe things that don't just matter to you or don't even matter to you, but still good to consider. So one of the first things to look at is the size of the firm. Firm sizes vary all over the place. You've got your big, more corporate kind of feel firms. I generally call these like the marble palaces. They may be beautiful inside, and you've got several different attorneys and legal teams. They may practice different areas of law, like have different sections within their firm. One may be dedicated to family law, one may be dedicated to other areas of law. So whenever you're looking at these different sizes, there's that size. There's the small size that maybe just have a solo practitioner. They may have a legal assistant or kind of admin person, or it may just be them. Or you've kind of got your mid-sized firms, which are kind of our size, which we have 4 attorneys, 3 paralegals, 2 legal assistants, and then Chyna and myself. So that can be mid-size up to just even still a little bit bigger than us is also mid-size. And we have a designated legal team, but generally still the same person that you're meeting with, you're going to have that same team and continuity of care throughout the entire time. So some of those things may not matter, but definitely want to look at the size of the firm whenever you're starting your search. Looking at the areas of law, I mentioned that sometimes bigger firms can have lots of different areas of law, when sometimes a solo practitioner can also practice a lot of different areas of law. We always recommend when you're doing your search to try to find someone that primarily, if not exclusively, practices family law. And that's not to say that attorneys can't be well versed in a lot of different areas of law, but family law is very, very comprehensive. Every county in North Carolina has their own local rules through their court system. There are 100 counties in North Carolina, so that's a lot to consider. And family law, there's just a lot. There can be a lot of deadlines and documents that have to be submitted and reviewed. And so if your attorney's kind of all over the place or doesn't really know family law very well, or it's not their primary area of practice, they may miss some of those details that can be very detrimental and important to the case. So definitely want to look at the exclusivity or primary practice of family law for sure. What's the focus of the attorney's practice? Do they not go to court? Do they just do mediations, or sometimes what's called collaborative law is another option that stays outside of court? Or do they really try to push for court, and that's really their main forte is going to court? Or is it somewhere in the middle? Everybody's situation is unique, and you may want to avoid court at all costs. Sometimes it's inevitable, unfortunately, but you want to, look at your situation and see what's important and what you feel like your goals are for yours. At New Direction, specifically, we do both. We are big advocates of mediation and settling outside of court, but sometimes it's just not a reality, or for certain cases or situations. And so while we advocate for settling or going to mediations that are hopefully successful, we're always prepared to go to court if need be. When I talked about the primarily practicing family law, another piece to that I mentioned was the counties. So when you're doing that search, and Chyna can attest to this with the calls, that we get that attorneys practice by county because that's how the courts are set up. And so being that counties can vary with their local rules, does the attorney that you're looking at or researching, do they have experience in that county? We want to help as many people as we can, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense if it's a county that we haven't really practiced in. So Chyna, when somebody calls in and it's maybe a county that we haven't practiced in or we have very little experience in, what is usually your best advice there?
Typically, if it's a county that is close by, or, if someone calls in and it's maybe Mecklenburg County, typically we don't travel that far out. But if it's maybe a county that's a little bit closer mileage-wise, radius-wise, then I typically check with the paralegal or the attorney and ask, with all of your caseload right now, or with this county being a specific case in this particular county, is this something that you're willing to travel to and take on, things like that, because you want to be mindful for the client also if cost wise for traveling and things like that. So if it's something that's close by, then I'll absolutely check. But if it's something I know for a fact, like it's on the other side of the state, it's not going to be in their best interest to try to get an attorney that's on the other side of the state.
Yeah, definitely. And something else with that too is, especially in your smaller counties, there's a certain culture of a court. That's a real thing. Here in Wake County, once you file a suit in family law, you're assigned a judge, and that judge is generally the judge for the life of the case. But that may not always be the case in every county, and there's just a certain culture of the court, and getting to know those family court clerks and things like that. So there are definitely advantages to having an attorney that's familiar with the county that your particular case is in or would be in should something be filed.
Yes.
So looking at the presence of the attorney, when you're doing this research, what comes up about an attorney? Maybe you just like the name of the firm, or maybe a picture pops up of one of the attorneys, and just for whatever reason you like that picture. What does the rest of their online presence look like? That's a good indicator as to how active or timely relevant a practice is. Is their website operating well? Is it a good speed? Is it user friendly? Does it have good information on it? Do they have a Facebook page or an Instagram or Twitter or YouTube or maybe TikTok even nowadays? What is their online presence like? Because you want to be able to access information. Not only should they have stuff about their firm, but a good online presence is also going to give you some information as you're doing research about the teams that you would be working with or the other staff, as well as that area of law that they practice. So all good things, because you want a firm that's timely. Sometimes attorneys, especially if they've been practicing for years and years and years, have a really hard time kind of making that change into the digital world, which is great, but you want to be relevant in today's society, and that extends to the online presence as well. So just something else. And if it's not important to you, it's not important to you. Just another tip just to help you while you're doing your search. In line with that and their online presence are reviews. I personally, I'm sure Chyna, you do too, anytime I'm looking for any sort of
live off of reviews.
Amazon has made it that way. Google has made it that way. If we could have a presence on Amazon to get reviews there, we'd probably try that too. But, nowadays it's more uncommon to have a service, whether it's a product, a legal, law firm, to have a service that doesn't have some sort of reviews. So read those reviews. That's going to give you an unbiased look at someone else's experience with that firm. And there may be some that are specific to your particular, your kind of situation, whether it's child custody or domestic violence as a whole, whatever it is. And that's going to be a good unbiased look for you to see what that experience was like with a firm or with a specific attorney. So online reviews are key as well. When you go in for an initial consultation, one thing to ask maybe whenever you do this intake call, and Chyna, I'll definitely have you're the big guns for the intake stuff, have you speak to more of that here in just a second. But whenever you call someone and you're finding out about service, one good question to ask is the attorney that I'm going to meet with for a consultation going to be the attorney for my case as well? Sometimes in your bigger firms, that may not be the case. You may meet with one attorney that's more dedicated to consultations, and then your case may transfer to a different legal team. For your solo practitioners, obviously, yes, because there's no other option. You're definitely going to have the same attorney. So one other thing to keep in mind for sure. And then just overall, which this segues great into the intake process, is what is your overall first impression of the attorney, whether it was from the website or you found them on social media, to the time that then you decided to pick up the phone and call the firm, because that is daunting. That is a daunting task whenever you've got something like this going on in your life, to the courage it takes to pick up the phone to start that conversation, because sometimes that's the first time you're admitting out loud that maybe your marriage isn't going to work out. And that is a lot to admit, to accept. And it's scary. It's so scary. And, that's kind of a first step to making it very real whenever you make that call. That doesn't mean that talking to an attorney makes everything final, that there's no turning back or that things can't be worked out. But it does kind of seem that way whenever you're going to make that call. So what was your overall first impression? How did that make you feel? For us personally at New Direction, we really tried to be sensitive of that and put a certain procedure in place to help people whenever they call in. They're not feeling rushed. They're not, dependent on a paralegal or a legal assistant or an attorney to get back to them. Not to say that that's bad, but the reality is those team members are working on active cases, and they've got 1,001 things on their plate. And having a rock star like Chyna, and sometimes myself, is to be able to dedicate that time to listen to people and find out what's going on and help put their minds and their hearts at ease when starting this process. So, Chyna, just talk a little bit about the intake process. What is that like? What information do you have to gather whenever, people are calling in to find out information? So just kind of walk us through that.
Sure. So typically, it's a jack in the box. When I answer the phone, you never know what you're going to get. Someone could be really emotional and upset. Some people are mad. Some people, are kind of in shock and in denial. So I always try to be mindful, regardless of who I'm talking to. They're talking to a stranger. So I want to give them, 10 out of 10 customer service, make them feel comfortable and let them know that I'm going to help them in the best way possible that I can. So typically, I'll just get their baseline information, contact information, name, email, in case we need to communicate with people that way, because email is, the new thing. Also, I will make sure, that it's something that we can handle. What type of situation do you have going on? Is it a child custody case? Are you thinking about separating from your spouse? Domestic violence? So first, I'll make sure that it's something that we can handle and that you reside in a county, or either the matter is in a county that we are practicing in or can travel to practice in. So I like first to get all of that information, just so I don't have someone go 20 minutes into their story and then be like, hey, sorry, we don't even practice in that county. You need to call, refer to someone else. So typically I'll get that information and then I'll just kind of dive into, what led up to this. Are you currently separated? Do you have a current custody or child support order in place? Have you been served with any paperwork? Just to get a feel for if they're at the very first step, if this is that first call that they've made, or if they are, have a custody order in place that maybe they want to modify, or the other person isn't quite following and they want to talk about their options to change that. So then I typically just get that information and then talk to them about how our office can best assist them. I let them know the information about the consultation. They typically last about an hour. We don't have like a time stamp, like you only get 30 minutes and then it's done, or an hour and then it's done. It's very fluid. Some consultations are really short. People are very direct. And some of them are very long, more long-winded. And so that just depends on the person and the case and the situation. And I will just let them know, what's included in the consultation. You'll meet with the attorney that you most likely will be handling your case if you decide to retain their legal services. And that leads me back, do you have any pending hearings? Because I'm going to check, if you do, I'm going to check that attorney's calendar to see if they're available on that day. Because the last thing I want to do is set someone up with an attorney that they may or may not be working with. I try to keep it, okay, well, you have a hearing on September 14th. That attorney is available that day. So let's put you with them. So hopefully, if you do retain, then they'll be able to handle your case and go to court for you and with you and things like that. But I just let them know, during the consultation, you can ask any and all questions that you have, and you can kind of talk to the attorney about everything that's gone on up to this point. And that's when they will talk to you about your legal rights and options, whether it's a legal separation, they can discuss custody, child support, alimony, in North Carolina, alienation of affection, if that exists in the case. If it's custody, they can talk to you about, the process of filing for a modification and timelines. So they will answer pretty much all and every question, and it's going to be a lot of information. But, it's a double-edged sword. Yes, you're getting a lot of information, but you're not going to leave the consultation with any questions unanswered. They'll talk to you about the type of work specifically that would need to be done on the case, and they would also quote any legal or retaining fees at that time too. So by the time you leave, you should almost have an idea of what moving forward would look like, what those next steps would be, costs. So the attorney will go over a culmination of everything with you. And I have had a lot of people in the past think that a consultation is, well, will the attorney take my case? Or can the attorney take my case? It's not necessarily in our firm, in our area of law, the attorney saying yes or no. If we set you up before you even come in the door or pay a consultation fee or anything like that, I'm going to make sure that it's something that our firm can handle. So when you come in, you can get the most out of that consultation.
Yeah, well said. And I mean, and I know that might seem like a lot for anybody, watching as far as the intake process is concerned, but it's all very important information, because that's the purpose of the intake process is for Chyna to listen to what's going on and then make sure that you understand what you're getting. Because I think a lot of times with commercials we see on TV or hear on the radio, for those that still listen to the radio, you hear a lot from personal injury attorneys. And maybe not these days since people aren't driving as much, but you hear about, no money is owed unless we win the case. And that's because it's a different type of fee. That's based off of a contingency fee. You can't do contingency fee in family law. So the consultation is very different, like you said, than just saying, oh yeah, you have a family law case. You know what I mean? It is much more comprehensive. And we take the time to try to explain that to people, because you don't know what you don't know, and what you don't understand,
absolutely.
you usually don't like. So, so yeah, definitely very helpful information. And so whether you're doing research for someone else, because we do have third parties give us a call on behalf of someone that they're trying to help them find an attorney, which is great. It is so important to have a great support system whenever you're going through any type of legal matter, but especially one like family law. And that's so beneficial. Just keeping in mind that we do have to speak due to confidentiality reasons. We do have to speak directly to the party involved. So just things to be aware of and keep in mind whenever you're doing your search. We hope that you found this helpful as you're doing your search. If you have any questions or need to reach out to New Direction Family Law, you can find us a lot of different ways. You can call into the office, and right now with everything going on with COVID and we're all working from home, obviously, since Chyna are in two different places, you still call the main office number and you reach Chyna or me or one of the other staff members during normal business hours. Someone will pick up the phone at 919-719-3470. You can also reach us via our website at newdirectionfamilylaw.com. You can reach us via Facebook and via Instagram as well. So lots of ways you can get in contact with us. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions, whether it's about the process with the firm, the intake process. If you think it's a family law matter and it ends up not being a family law matter or not in a county that we practice in, we still really try to do our best to get you in contact with someone that can best assist you for your particular legal situation or the area, the county that it's being held in. So Chyna, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes.
And again, if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to you. We are here. We're prepared. We're just virtual right now. So we look forward to the day we can be back in the office, hopefully sooner rather than later. And until then, please take care, stay safe, stay sane, and stay clean. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.